Hang on. Hello. Hi, everybody. Sorry, the audio was out. Now it's back. I was muted. So yeah. So let me show you what we're looking at here. And they're mowing the lawn out there. So you're going to hear the mower go back and forth, which is why I'm doing the stream now and not tomorrow. So this is a Lenovo Legion 7 tower. You can see it kind of on the right-hand side of the shot here. And then this is the other view of it. And I've got my PTZ camera hooked up here so you can get a feel for what it looks like from the sides. It's got like one of those open glass designs, kind of a common case design these days. The cable management isn't bad on it. We'll take it apart on the full review. So you can see you got a couple of cables coming out of the GPU. This is a liquid-cooled CPU. And again, we're running with the, let me pull up the specs here again, the i9-10900K. And this is got 32 gigs of RAM, the whole nine, and a 3080. So yeah, this is more than we usually look at here on the channel. We don't look at the expensive stuff typically, so there you go. So what we're going to do today is just kind of look at what this thing can do. You know, I've got a good amount of time, not a huge amount of time. So I figured we'll probably do an hour and a half just kind of messing around with this thing. Got my Xbox controller connected. And the monitor, so we're doing this all at 4K, although the stream today is at 1080p for you. And if you're on Amazon, it's at 720p. But this monitor is $300. This comes up and down in price, but this is like the lowest, maybe not anymore, but at least when I was buying it a couple of years ago, this was the least cost 4K monitor you could get. And I use this because I review a lot of 4K stuff. And so I wanted to get a lower cost 4K monitor. It doesn't do HDR or anything like that, but it's adequate for the testing stuff that we do. So that is what we got. So let me take a couple of questions, and I got the sound working, so we're good there. Non-Rev Guy wants to know, is this the Costco model? It might be. It might be. I don't know who sells what specifications. I'm not sure if this exact one is the one that's at Costco or not. B. Tababa is here. Arif Hassan is here, always greeting us with the Atari VCS. Hey, Recipe Bob. And Ryan says they just opened an esports complex in his neighborhood. He saw a stack of 3070 boxes that had, that must have cost them a lot of money to open up that thing there. So yeah, that is pricey. You know what we're going to do? We're going to run some benchmarks on this first just to see how it does with those. This will be a good test to see if my network or my streaming computer crashes here. So Connor Lavoie is here. Recipe Bob says the sound is here. Adam is happy to hear the sound. George is happy to hear the sound. Greg is happy to hear the sound. And Anthony says, there you go. And along with, Connor's in two different places here. So cool. Yeah, so we will be doing some stuff here with this. So let me get the thing going here, but you can see the insides of it. Again, it's a little reflective. Here, I'll pull up the shot. It's a glass thing here, so it's a little reflective, but you can see what's in there. I will note that it's got a bunch of little fans on it. Here, I'll tilt the camera a little bit so you can see the front of the case. It's got a lot of these littler fans, and so it's got a little bit more of a high-pitched whine than my production computer. So my production computer, here, I'll just, it's a mess, just ignore that. Actually, this is embarrassing. Let me pull up my other shot here. My production computer is down here. You can't really see it. Oh, my wires are coming off the ceiling here. This is my production computer, and this one is running with much larger fans on the front. So it doesn't make as much noise, which for me is important in the studio here. So it shows you, like, when you've got bigger fans, that it does make a bit of a difference with that. So there you go. Nick F. just got done watching the Wise live stream. Yeah, I saw that pop up. They sent me a notification on the app about that. And I missed it because I was doing this. So let me know what they said. I got to look at that. And I got a wire now coming down over here. I'll just have to retape the wire up there. I have an overhead mounting thing that I put up. And like everything I do, it's always haphazard, so things fall down all the time. Ryan says the companies that make custom PCs, yeah, it's really tough to get components. And then you've got, like the big players like Lenovo, they have more buying power, so they could get at this stuff easier too. So Romeric is here, hello. Thomas Woodford is here, hello. And George has the same case. Yeah, that's it. The case that I have on my production computer is a Cooler Master. I like it a lot because it's got two big fans. And when you've got a big fan, it doesn't have to turn as fast to move the same volume of air as the smaller fans in this system. It doesn't sound like that loud, but there is a little bit more of a high-pitched whine that I can hear out of it. So that's been one thing I've noticed with it. And Anthony wants to know, yeah, we'll take a look at the BIOS in a minute, actually. That's a good suggestion. So I figured I'd run a quick benchmark on it. Right now, it's just kind of running stock. And then we'll take a look and see how it goes. But what's funny is that typically when we're running this benchmark, this is the 3D Mark Time Spy benchmark. And typically this runs like super, super slow on the laptops that we review. But here, as you can see, it's running like, I don't know what the frame rate is. I don't have my NVIDIA frame counter up, but we'll see that when they start doing the thing here in a minute. And by the way, this bend here, it's just my lousy cameras and their bad optics. So that's what that is here. Say hello to some more folks here. I'm just going to let this benchmark run. NodTech Studios is here. Good evening. John, good afternoon. You're not too late. Actually, you're just on time. I'm actually starting about an hour later than I usually do. So I just wrapped up another video. Rick wants to know what the MSRP is on this. I would say this is probably north of $2,500 is configured. This has the 3080 on board. I do have a link to one on Amazon, but it's from a third-party seller, so I don't know exactly what the price point should be on this one. But I thought we would just try out a couple of things in 4K. Now, this demo that we're watching now is not running at 4K. I forgot what resolution it runs at natively, but it's the same benchmark that I run on all of my computers. So I'm actually eager to see how this compares to my machine upstairs, which has a 2080 Ti and a 9th generation Intel chip. This is a 10th generation i9. So we'll let this kind of run out and see what we end up with here. Then we'll play some games. I figured I'd load up Flight Simulator, let's take a look at that. Although it's hard to fly airplanes with Xbox controllers, but we'll do our best. Maybe we'll have it start us off in the air or something like that. And then I got a couple other games that I loaded on here already. All right, so now it's running the first graphics test. And what I did on my vMix system, see, normally I would not run 4K through my vMix system with NDI because my NDI box was crashing vMix. But vMix just instituted a new feature that runs the NDI portion in a separate memory space so it won't crash my stuff anymore. So that's what we're doing, in case you're wondering. And by the way, I've been loving this keyboard. This is the ThinkPad, what do they call it? It's the ThinkPad TrackPoint. It's so awesome. I just love it. All right, so this is running at about 100 frames per second right now. Isn't that crazy? And I'm starting to hear probably the GPU fans kicking up now. And hopefully it doesn't blow out my circuit breaker. Although I think these 3080s are more power efficient, are they not? I think they are. And then the video is coming into my computer over the network, over NDI, but I have it running through an NDI box. So this is 4K that my vMix machine is converting to 1080p. So actually, you'll see it when it comes back up again. It's actually running pretty nicely. So this is network video. Isn't that crazy? You see a little screen tearing because it's running faster than what whatever my frame rate's set to in this video or the stream. So George is saying that a lot of people are buying, yeah, it's probably true. They're buying the pre-builts and they're shucking the cards out of them. See, it's like a chop shop. You buy them and part them out, right? I could see people totally doing that. I could totally see that. Yeah, I've never actually played with, up until today, believe it or not, I have not had any 3000 series NVIDIA GPUs to test yet. So I just finished a review of a new Lenovo gaming laptop, a Legion 7 Slim. And what's neat about that one is it's like less than an inch thick, and it's got a 3060 on board. It's beautiful. If anyone wants to see what it looks like, I'll go get it. Let me know. And we'll just let the benchmark kind of keep running here. It's running at about almost a steady 100 frames per second. And typically when we run this on one of our laptops, you're lucky to get close to 30, just to give you a feel for what this thing's pushing. And then this is the really intensive CPU portion. And this is an 8-core i9 that's in this one, so it should do pretty well on this part. Let's see what we get here. Anthony says the official TDP is 320 watts on this thing. Holy crap. Oh yeah, that got the CPU cooler going. I could hear the fan just kicking on there. All right, so the score, 15,559. And obviously that'll be the fastest score I have ever recorded, just because this is the highest spec PC I have ever looked at in my entire life. So let's go over to the TimeSpy benchmark test. So to put this in perspective, I think we might be getting to a point where this benchmark may not be enough to adequately measure the system. Here, let me pull up my vMix desktop capture here. I'm going to add yet another NDI source to the mix here and completely overload my computer. Let's do that, and we'll say display 1, and we'll do that. Hang on one second here, folks. So I'm going to show you, wow, my computer's still cranking away. I've got all this stuff going in, and I'm still like only 12% utilized on my system, my streaming system. So I'm going to pull up my chart here. And if you go to Lon.TV/benchmarks, you can see this very thing that I'm working on. And this has has all of the benchmark data that we've ever recorded on any review. So this here, this line, this is my gaming PC upstairs. I've got an i9 9900K, basically the prior generation of the processor. And I have an RTX 2080 Ti. This one has the 3080 on board. So we're going to call this Lenovo Legion Tower 7. I think it's called the Legion Tower 7i. I'll fix the name later if I got it wrong. And the overall score here is 15,559. So 15,559. Oops. All right, and I'm a little messed up there, so let's go make that right oriented. Here, I'll zoom in a little bit here so you can get a better view of it. And again, Lon.TV/benchmarks if you want to follow along. And this is my spreadsheet where we record all of the benchmark data for every computer we've looked at over the last 6 years. And if I scroll down on the list here, we can see what our frame rates are at. So for graphics 1, 104.88. Graphics 2 is 90.95. And the CPU, oops, let me put 9 FPS in there. And the CPU is running at 45.64 FPS. So look at that difference between my, and this has a RTX 3080 and an i9 10400K. So look at the difference in CPU performance. That's crazy. I wonder if my system isn't tuned to the right speed upstairs. But the GPU performance between my 2080 Ti and this one, granted it's better, right? It's running at about 5 to 10 frames per second better, but it's not it's not as significant as I thought it would be. I thought it was like a 20% boost from the 2080 Ti to the 3080, but you all might have more insights into that than I, because I don't cover a lot of this high-end stuff. PimTwiz wants to know, what is the memory speed? Let us find out, because that is an important factor these days. I don't know if Windows tells us that without having to install something here. Let's take a look. I'm just going to check and see if I can get to it quickly here. Okay, the speed of the memory, here, I'll pull this up for you. The memory speed is 3200 megahertz, so 3.2 gigahertz memory on this one. And we have 2 of the 4 slots occupied. And somebody wanted to see the BIOS, so why don't we reboot and see if we can pop into the BIOS here. Now, by the way, my system, my streaming system occasionally will crash when I mess around with things, and especially with this particular adapter I'm using. So part of the stream today is to test whether or not this can survive a crash, because this little box initiates crashes all the time. So we'll see if it holds up. But we're going to reboot here. We'll see if we can get into the BIOS. I think it's delete on these. Delete or F10 or F2. Let's see. I might miss it. If it's not delete or F2, then it's F10. Yep. Actually, it looks like we're going into the Windows recovery mode here. Oops. All right, let's turn this off and try again. Oop. Okay, so let's power it back up again. That was my controller, not me. Let's try F12 or F10. Let's see what we get here. The good news is it hasn't crashed my computer yet. All right, so that's the boot screen. So let's enter the BIOS setup. Hey, look at this. I can actually show you the BIOS screen. So let's take a look and see what we can do on here. So we've got, and again, I'm going to defer to you experts to tell me what you want me to look for here. And I'm just trying to see if there's a way. So there is a default overclocking. I'm just going to step through these things here so you can see what they've got set up. But I don't see, at least initially, so it's like almost like there's a default, yeah, let's go back here. There's like a default overclocking setting. So they've apparently already tuned this a bit. But I don't see where in the BIOS you can adjust the overclocking settings. Intelligent cooling, after power loss, enhanced power saving mode, security, startup. So there might be some software that adjusts this when the system is booted. William Wilkinson wants to know the SSD speed. So we will take a look and see what SSD is in there. I can't find it because they probably have it under a heatsink. So we'll take a look at that in a minute. And PimpTwizit is happy to see that the RAM is 3200 megahertz. Yeah, good stuff. Because there was some complaints, I think, on one of the laptops that we looked at recently that the memory speed wasn't quite there. Actually, that reminds me now, I got to go back and look at what my what my settings were for that machine I just looked at, or what the memory speed was on that. Okay, so we'll boot back up here again. Yeah, whatever changes they made to vMix have been good, because so far it hasn't crashed when we went back in here, and I think we're still at 4K. Yeah, good. All right, so let's take a look at the Vantage software. So I didn't see much in the way of things that I can manipulate in the BIOS. And John says, yeah, check out the Vantage app. So that is what we're going to look at next. So let's make it full screen here. Can we do that? Yes. And I will pull it up on screen for you all to see. So they've got what they call the thermal mode. Oh, here you go. So why don't we enable CPU and GPU overclocking? Advanced. Warning. We'll let you do it, but you're on your own. Look at all this, huh? I'm afraid to touch any of this stuff. So the CPU is now at 30 megahertz clock offset. And I don't think we had that before. So now that we've got it overclocked, let's run that benchmark again. See, thermal mode, overclock on. And let's take a look at the power. Yeah, it's just telling me to put a toolbar on there. All right, so let's check and see if there's any BIOS updates. We'll see what we got on that front. No updates. Okay, system is up to date. So now we are technically overclocked, right? Because now it says thermal mode, performance overclock is on. So now I want to run that benchmark again. And I apologize for making you watch the same thing again, but this is the way that we evaluate stuff. So yeah, you don't get like, because I know on my Asus motherboard that I have the same motherboard on my broadcast machine as I do on my gaming machine upstairs, and there's so many dials to turn, I'm afraid to touch it. But when I built it, you all were on the stream with me and told me what to do, so that's why I felt more comfortable with it. And it runs super stable, like both machines are really stable. But it's amazing like how, how complicated it's become, right? And for me, it's just like I value stability over performance to some degree. So for me, if I'm able to get something to run at 60 frames per second, I'm generally going to be happy because that's how fast my TV is upstairs, right? So I'm generally okay with that. So that's kind of what I aim for because especially for the broadcast machine, stability is critical because you don't want to have a crash. But this machine, and I'm jinxing it now, but this machine that I run on is like rock solid. And we built this one over a year ago and it's still going really strong. And Greg M says that's why they have the clear, yeah, you can start from scratch again. I guess that's why. So maybe it's not just me. But George says that pre-builts have very limited BIOSes. So yeah, it is pretty stripped down. I think what it is they want to give, yeah, they know the market. The market wants overclockability, but they also know that they don't want their customers like burning out their hardware either. So they probably found, okay, we can safely overclock around this level. I'm eager to see how this does. And Anthony says 30 megahertz is very conservative on the GPU. Yeah, let's see what that does for performance. And it looks like that's as far as I can go with it. So I'll pop back into that menu when this finishes up and we'll see how it does on the second run. And Anthony says you'd have to pull out MSI Afterburner to really tweak the GPU. Yeah, like I said, I'm always nervous about like, maybe I have to like get over it, but I just remember back when I first started building PCs, and this was over 20 years ago, you could do a lot of damage with a setting that you didn't really understand, right? I don't know if that's still the case now, if they have more safeguards in place, but I'm always very mindful of that. Mark's, this was sent in, and this one's a little, I should have disclosed earlier. So this one's a little different as far as how it's going. So typically they're loaned to the channel, but occasionally Lenovo has some that they send out for promotional purposes. So it's not a sponsorship, but what I've been doing, we have 5 schools in my area. So I'd let them know that like whenever they have computers that they're not looking to keep within their review office, that I have homes for them. So we've been donating laptops and desktops. So we're getting, last year we couldn't do much with them, so at the start of the school year I'll be working with the local schools. We've got 2 laptops and now this desktop that will be sent over to some of the local schools for live video production. I'm a very big proponent of media literacy, and so if I can help locally to promote media literacy with hardware, I'm happy to do it. So that's where this one's going to end up. And these make great live production machines. Like with that GPU, you could be doing like 4K 60. They don't have cameras that can do that much, but it gives you a feel for what you can accomplish with it. And that's why sometimes, like if you're doing live production, you know, buying a pre-built gets you support, you know. Albert says, I thought the tower floating. Yeah, it looks like it's floating, doesn't it? It's actually on a white reflective table. So I've got this here. I'll show you my PTZ camera here. Yeah, oops, shoot. Let me pull up that for you, and I'll show you the table that it's sitting on. It's a little bit reflective because it's got its glass on. I did take off the protective film, but you can see that's a white table that it's on, so it's like reflecting off of that. It's kind of funny. It's a very reflective thing there. But it's cool. They've got like a liquid cooler on the CPU. It looks like one of those Corsair liquid coolers. You know, it's been branded for Lenovo, but it looks just like the one that I use on my 2 PCs. And so it's got the radiator at the top. So you can't really see it, but the radiator's at the top. But you know, like we've built PCs on this channel before. It takes me a couple hours to do it right, or close to right. Here, like you just take it out of the box and turn it on. I kind of like that as an alternative. It's running roughly the same as it was before. Maybe we've got a couple extra frames per second. You know, we only overclocked the GPU by 30%, so that's probably not going to be a huge difference on this when it's done running, but we'll see what happens. We'll take a look, yeah, when this test finishes up, Mark Smith, we'll take a look at the temperatures because it'll give us a good guide as to what the temperatures we're running at when it's done. Anthony says these days that they're pretty locked down. So you have to go through a lot to push 2 volts to the GPU and kill it. You get crashes. So they're a little safer than I remember them being. I remember it was bad. Like you could totally kill your computer with the wrong setting. Hear that radiator kicking on again. Oh man, yeah. You could hear that, like when that CPU is taxed, that radiator really kicks on. You could hear it going. Albert likes the cooler on there. Zozu thinks it's a rebadged Acetec cooler. They have a patent that they enforce pretty heavily. Interesting. Yeah, so we're roughly where we were before. Actually, a little better. So let's go back. And I'll here, you know what I'll do? I'll answer the question on the CPU temperatures first. So let's go to CPU temperature. So the CPU at its height, when we were on that last part of the test, the highest temperature was about 86 degrees Celsius for the CPU. And the GPU was running at about 70.63 degrees at its height. Why did they make that disappear? Was running at 70.63 degrees Celsius at the height of the test. So it looks like it they try to keep it around 70. And the CPU, during most of this test, was in the 50s. Except when that last test, which really runs it, you know, was hitting about almost 83 degrees Celsius. All right, so let's go back to our benchmark spreadsheet, which again you can find at Lon.TV/benchmarks. And we'll go back up to the listing here. And I'm going to revise the score here because we're basically running it at kind of the stock max performance. We haven't done much other than enable the overclocking. And so now we're at 108.37 FPS. And you know what's interesting, the second test did not do as well as the first test did. And then about the same on the CPU. So, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a bump over my 2080 Ti, but not a big bump with the 3080. But that's just a benchmark, right? There could be other things that this could do better with. So there you go. Let's go take a look at the overclocking settings again and see if there are any other things that we can do beyond what you just saw. Yeah, so it is locking you out. So like the most you can do is 30 megahertz, a 30 megahertz bump on the GPU. That's all it's going to let you do. And you've got a lot of CPU adjustments here, but not many. Actually, only one, just the clock speed on the GPU. But that's it. There's no BIOS setting to override anything or whatever. So that's what you get. Zosu says 86 degrees. Yeah, pull up your chat here. With a liquid cooler like that is pretty unimpressive. Yeah, it only hit that towards the end, but that last portion of that test is what really works the CPU. I wonder if it, because it spiked there and then it came back down. Let's pull that back up again. So we'll take a look at the time frame on that. So let's go back to the close-up shot here so you can all see it. So here's your temperature chart. So throughout most of it, so when let's go, like we get into the height of the first test. The CPU was running at 60 degrees Celsius and the GPU at 66. The second test, which looks to be a little more GPU intensive, the GPU climbed to about 70 degrees Celsius and the processor was running at 54. And then where it really, actually, you know, when it was placed under full load, it was holding out at around 80 or so Celsius. Because that last test is really like a full-on test of that CPU. So there you go. And I got some more folks to say hello to. So why don't we say hello to Carol, who's joining us. Good to see you again. And Anthony says, yeah, 86 is meh. I wonder if they have a dust filter on the top. There is it looks like a hard filter. I'm not sure I can pull it off. It seems like it's attached. I don't know if you can pop it out or not. But there is a dust filter, but it doesn't feel like there's a fabric one there. It's just like a metal mesh towards the top here. And I don't see a way to pop it off. All right, well, why don't let's do a little flight simulator to kick things off here. And we'll see how that plays out. That's the one thing I love about Game Pass is all the stuff you get here. So it doesn't seem to want to let me load Flight Simulator. So let's load that up. Time for an update. Oh my goodness, let's update here. All right, we have to I just like installed all this stuff and now it wants updates again. And the consensus is that there's probably an air restriction here that's causing the issue. So we'll have to play with that a little bit more. And Greg is saying, I assume the all-in-one is exhausting through the cooler. Yeah, I think it's doing what most do, right? So, oh, that's right, because it's sucking the air in, and there may not be enough outflow. That's probably what was happening. Because it'll need to up the rear fan, right, to be able to make use of that. All right, so here we go with with this. Let me get the audio going for you too so you can hear a little bit of it. Now granted, I don't usually fly Flight Simulator with a... I mean, I'm a bad pilot to begin with because I haven't really learned how to fly planes properly. Here, let me find the right audio source here. Here it is, NDI Spark. We're just going to turn that volume down a bit, and let's kick it on. Which one is it? Did I lose my... Oh, here it is. Okay. There's a mandatory software update. Okay. I just installed this like yesterday. But apparently there's another update. So we will update. This is why, like, typically I have Jake do all this stuff because the amount of software installation and updates is killer. All right, we'll let that install. Although I think they just like optimized the whole, right? Because the game's coming out on console, and they did a lot of optimizations that will benefit the PC version also, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you, Carol, for your super chat. Much appreciated. Let me pull you up on screen here. And Red Hornet is joining us on Amazon. Hello there. Oh, so it came out. Oh, today was the day that it came out on console. Awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to get into this. I'm excited about this. I really have been enjoying Flight Simulator. I've been playing the VR a little bit. Like everything, nobody optimizes the VR very well. So like when you've got something that runs on desktop and VR, like the VR never quite gets there. Ed Horn said his buddy was the first to ever have a water-cooled laptop. It wasn't planned that way, it just happened. Did it survive? That's the question. Yeah, I'll dive into the CPU temperature a bit more for you all before I do the review. That's why I do these live streams, because I am not a big PC builder person. I mean, I build them, and I know enough to be dangerous, but I don't have like the level that some of these YouTubers have. Oh, we got another update. So this game like updates its executable, and then it's got a bunch of updates that it pulls down off the internet. And I just like got done installing the whole thing, like I said, 2 days ago. But I think the new update is worth taking a look at. All right, let's take a look here. Let this do whatever it's doing here. Carol wants to know, is this PC expensive? It looks like it probably sells for $2,500 to $2,800, depending on configuration. This one has the 3080 on board, so this is kind of a top-end version. Brandon says the console version came out today, which is why the update's there. This is actually going to be a good update for PC, because they've been doing a lot of optimization for the consoles that will come over to the PC, so that's a good thing. Although I think it just dropped me out. Let's see if I'm assuming it's reinstalling maybe? I don't know. I'll click on it again, see what we get. This is one of those games that you don't know if it's loading or not. Like when you click on it, nothing happens for a few minutes, and then it finally pops up. Brandon says it runs very smoothly on the Series X. Yeah, I can't even imagine the optimization that they went through on this. They probably took it up the ladder there, from some of the Microsoft teams. Yeah, so Ed, I had the version on the Apple II, and so you always started in Chicago by Sears Tower, and most of the time it ran at like 5 frames per second. It was barely a simulator, but we'll see how it works now. Brandon says, it's fun to take off from airports that I worked at. You know, it's funny, I've been practicing taking off from the airport that is around the corner from me. We have a very small airport in Connecticut here that I occasionally fly out of. And I've been thinking about taking flying lessons. What I want to do is make sure I can allocate the time to really get into it and do it. And it might be kind of a fun YouTube effort, right? Because I could take it from the very beginning of my experience. I understand how planes work, you know, so, but I've not really flown before. I have not flown. I flew a plane barely once, about 26 years ago, when I took one of those discovery flights when I was in college. Somebody had got me a discovery flight for a graduation present. So I took a discovery flight, but I was in college and didn't have time to really go and learn. But it's been like kind of eating at me. And this flight simulator thing has not been good for me because I am constantly, why does it keep crashing? Because it's so, like, just the realism, everything looks like it does at that airport. It's amazing. The only thing that's not, they don't have all the buildings right at the airport that I fly out of, but otherwise it looks the same. It's really eerie how close it is to real. But it's funny though, because we're in this tiny little section of Connecticut and the airport is literally out in the middle of the woods. And it has they have like the traffic on the road, and occasionally they have like this huge city bus that drives through the airport, which never happens there. So like that was kind of funny to see that. All right, let's see if it works this time. This is like the third time I've loaded this, so let's see if it'll pop up here. So Carol's asking, do I know how it's with this PC regarding the last? So, I mean, for the most part, this feels like a PC that doesn't feel all that proprietary to me. It feels very much like here, you can get a look inside. I mean, it's labeled as a Lenovo machine, but you could get at everything in here. I mean, there's really no difference. You know, the motherboard doesn't have a lot of expandability. But I don't think there's anything that would restrict you from getting in here and adding your own parts to it. And they certainly can't void the warranty if you decide to do that per the MMWA that we looked at. Hang on one second, my wife is calling. Give me a second, I gotta mute for a second. Okay, sorry about that. My wife was in line at McDonald's with the kids. They were getting a Happy Meal. And she wanted to know if I wanted to eat something at McDonald's, but it's too early for that. I try to have 3 meals a day, not more than that. So I have a discipline about my eating because I'm trying to keep my weight at a steady level. All right, so now it finally connected to the server, so we have to install this update. So it's got to download 40 gigabytes? Oh my goodness. All right, well, so much for Flight Simulator. Maybe we'll let that kind of go in the background here. Why don't we load up Red Dead Redemption while that's going? We have 32 gigs of RAM on this thing, so I think we should be able to handle both things at the same time. That'll be a good test. I kid you not, I just installed this like a day and a half ago, and it's got another 40 gigabytes that it wants to put in there. So we will come back to it. And we'll let this load up. So Win32 said that this game costs $79 in their region. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I have been doing the Game Pass thing, and I am very happy with Game Pass. Because I've played more games over the last couple of weeks or months than I've ever had. And I haven't played them through completion, but there's so much good stuff. I've been really enjoying that. Albert said the first thing I did was fly to my home. Awesome. Yeah, I tried to find my house. See, the problem is I live in a very forested area, so I could kind of make out the trees and stuff, but I couldn't quite see where I lived. I really tried to do that. One of the things I've been practicing with it is because we're so heavily forested, I've been practicing engine outs in and around the airport that I fly out of, because that's honestly my big fear with learning to fly is having an engine out in my area, because we don't have a lot of fields. There are highways, but they're not in the vicinity of the airport, really. There's a couple of large ponds that you could maybe get to, but you don't have a lot of options for emergency landings around here because the tree cover is so extensive. So that's been the thing I've been playing around with the most, is just trying engine outs. It's actually good because like you can get a feel with the VR. The big thing that part of like why I really want to get into a real plane and try it is that I don't know the extent of my my flight yoke and rudders. I feel like they're too sensitive versus what they are in real life. So I really want to get a feel for what the plane really feels like. And now all of the opinions here are the opinion of the commenter, but I do want to put this up here. PC Builder is so toxic. Everyone thinks they're an expert. That is true. There is some toxicity out there, right? Like nobody can ever do it right. In fact, I built a PC years ago, and I had somebody who was so upset with my ineptitude that they unsubscribed and said, "You are a poser and a fake, and I'm never subscribing to you ever again." Like, okay, sorry. I do it live because I need help. I look at pre-built things on this channel. So when I build a computer, I know what I'm getting into. And George says the way they use the maps on Flight Simulator is insane. Yeah, it's amazing. Like, even the topography. Because it's funny, I fly out of that little Chester Airport every once in a while in Connecticut here. And what is remarkable to me is how accurate to what I've experienced, like the terrain, everything just looks right. It's only when you get in closer that things start to look a little not the same, right? Like they guess on the buildings, they guess on the houses, but no, it's really amazing. All right, so we are running with Red Dead Redemption 2 while we're downloading 40 gigabytes from Microsoft here. I wonder how we're doing on the bandwidth. Because I'm guessing with everybody installing this on their console, yeah, we're downloading at less than 100 megabits right now, so everybody with their consoles is trying out Flight Simulator. We'll have to come back and do something like that later. So I want to make sure VSync is off. And the quality level is currently unbalanced, so why don't we favor quality? I'm just going to crank it up to the top setting here. And I like to do these presets because the presets tend to give you a reference point that's easier for people to understand. Not that like people are dumb, but it's just like, hey, I set it to the highest settings. Here's what we got. Like the highest dial that we could get going there. All right, so now we are on the highest settings here. Let me pull up my NVIDIA frame rate counter. I'll throw it in the corner here. Oops, performance. What's this advanced one? What does this do? Oh, we got all sorts of stuff up there. I didn't realize they could do that. Oh, that's cool. All right, turn that off. Back, done. Okay. Look at that. Cool, check this out. Now you can see everything. Yeah, so now those fans are really kicking on. But you can see the CPU utilization. They don't have the CPU temperature, though. They have the GPU temperature. The GPU power is currently at 316 watts. And you can see a little bit of screen tearing there. We're running, this display is running at 60 hertz, and you're watching at 30. And it just took a dive there, didn't it? So we can't quite, this is 4K, by the way. So it can't quite run at a solid 60, but it's pretty close. Although, remember, we're also doing some stuff in the background with Flight Simulator, so that could maybe have some impact. But the GPU is fully involved here. It's running at 97%. And I'm missing a whole bunch of comments here. Civil says it's a nice-looking computer. Yeah, it is a pretty nice-looking computer. That's the one thing with the pre-builds. You do get you know, if you like the way it looks, you don't have to spend any time. You just take it out of the box and it's going. Ed says, what's humorous about the Sears Tower? Yeah, that's right. It would crack into it, into pieces when you flew into it back then on that flight simulator game. I know there's a small airport right on the water close to your shipping place. It is not fun to land there on a breezy day. Yeah, we have an airport right by the Connecticut River by the Goodspeed Opera House. That's a real challenging. It's a very short runway, and it is right on the shore of the river. And there's a bridge. So as you're coming in, you've got a bridge over the Connecticut River, and then the airport. So you've got if you're coming in from the north, going south, you have to like go over the bridge and then just drop it to get in there. Mark Smith used to use Google Earth to see pictures of, yeah, you know, and actually with Google too, they have archives. So like on the Google Street View, you can go back and look. You know, I'm going to take some notes here while we're playing around with this, so you can get a feel for what this looks like. This new NVIDIA control overlay is pretty helpful. So it does like a current FPS, an average. You got render latency, CPU utilization. So the CPU is only about 50% right here. I should get on a horse and start riding around or something here. Let me just take out some notes here, though. I just want to make some notes here on the Legion. And this is probably, actually, you know what? I'm going to take notes, but I'm going to run this again when I don't have Flight Simulator updating in the background, because that could be impacting performance. But let's go find a horse here that we can climb on and explore. I haven't actually gotten into this game yet. I just run through this screen to see how things run. But it looks pretty good, doesn't it? And again, this is rendering at 4K. Oh, I guess I'm not supposed to be riding the horse right now. Let's see. Let's get on that horse. I'm unable to ride my horse in camp. Okay, so how do I get out of camp? I think I'll take this horse. No, it cannot be mounted. It belongs to Dutch. I guess I have to play through the game a little bit more to be able to do anything. But it looks pretty good. Yeah, Albert says it's an update for an update for an update. This is the Flight Simulator update. Yes, 40 gigabytes. It's crazy. Donate paid $79 for Sword of Vermilion back in 1991. It was just okay. I think I had that game. I probably paid the same amount of money you did. I remember that Phantasy Star on the Master System cost $75 back then. Dava says I should have my own merch. I've looked at doing merch. The problem is I'm not much of an artist, so I need somebody to help me with the art. And I'm happy to compensate people for that if anyone wants to take that on. Lieutenant Crazy Legs Mello says it looks like it's got solid airflow. It does look like it does, doesn't it? And you know the cable management isn't bad on it either. So if we take a look at the case here from the side. My camera's a little crooked, but it doesn't have a lot of, like, this doesn't look like something I built where you got wires everywhere. It looks like it's got a pretty good airflow. The fans on the front are, as you can see, are not very large, so it does make a little more noise. So I've got like this Cooler Master case that has 2 big fans as opposed to 3 smaller ones. So that's something to think about. Dogman420, how am I doing? I'm doing good. We're just, you know, testing out this computer, getting it set up. I was going to capture some gameplay footage, but I'm going to wait because I got this huge update for Flight Simulator going in at the same time we're running this. But this is running at 4K. So it's doing about 55 frames per second, but I suspect, this is at the highest settings too, but I suspect that we're getting a bit of a performance hit because I've got a huge update running in the background. Recipe Bob crashed into his house trying to get a... So I guess what they have in Flight Simulator is like a drone mode where you can run this little drone that comes out separately. And now the fans are really, really hauling on this thing. There's a lot of heat coming out of this thing. At least on the top. So that CPU is going. I could feel the heat. I think the fans are blowing in, because I guess what you're supposed to do is blow everything in and have these fans exhausted all out the back, right? But there's definitely a lot of heat on the top. But again, we're doing a lot right now. So let's take a look and see how the flight simulator thing is going. Yeah, we're still... So see what it is? Like this is... It's decompressing. It's doing a lot of disk I/O. So this is probably impacting the performance of the game we're playing. And we're only 8 gigs out of 43 here that we've got to go through and do. So, but it seems to work pretty good. Okay, so that's that one. We'll come back to this because I want to be able to take gameplay footage when it's not doing something else in the background. I have a feeling, though, this is not going to be done in time. And actually, there's some overhead with just this screen running. So you know what I might do? I might pause this, and maybe we'll go back in a little later. We may have to come back and do Flight Simulator if we've got another something gig. Because what's crazy is that it's not like just downloading 40 gigs. So I have that gigabit connection. That wouldn't take all that long. But what it does is it downloads these tiny little files, 40 gigabytes worth of them. It decompresses them. It's just a mess. So we'll come back to that. Maybe we'll load up Red Dead Redemption 2 again, and we'll just take some footage of that running so I can at least have some productive use of my afternoon here. So let me make a new folder on my machine here. This is going to be Legion 7i Tower. And we'll just grab some footage out of this so that we can see what's going on here. Spike wants me to download Star Trek Online. You have to pay for that? I don't think I have a subscription to that. And back on the toxicity discussion, yeah, I think you're right about that. Every community has its issues. I tend to just not get in the... I try not to get into the middle of the drama of stuff. You know, I just like to do my thing. And if you like me, you can watch me. If you don't like me, you can watch somebody else. That's my take. And George says the CPU, yes, this is almost definitely going to be supporting Windows 11, no question about that. And Ed Horn says we should try the Catalina Island Airport in the Sky. I got to try a few of these. Maybe we'll just do a whole stream of Flight Simulator. That might be kind of fun. You can direct me to airports that we can crash into. And Brandon says I should just do my logo. Yeah, I should do that. Maybe I'll order some mugs from somebody and just resell them and see how I end up there. All right, so here we are again with Red Dead Redemption 2. And it appears to be running better than it was before, but let's... I'm going to hit the record button here and just, oops, my friend's network is unreachable. Hang on a second, get rid of that. Let's start that again. Yeah, so now it's doing better now that Flight Simulator isn't running in the background. So we're in the 60-ish territory here. I found it slows down a bit if I really do a lot of fast camera movement. But it's definitely running better than it was before. I have VSync off, so we're going to get a little screen tearing here. What a pretty game, though, isn't it? Yeah, so at the highest settings, 4K, it's able to pretty much run at 60, although it will take a dip every once in a while. Look how pretty that is. Is that a river down there? Let's take a look. I gotta play this more. I've never been into westerns all that much, but this looks kind of fun. I just like the fact that it looks like another one of these huge open world This is like Grand Theft Auto before the city was built, right? So we'll go down to the van down by the river. Look at that. Oh, so nice. This would be a fun game in VR too, I think, wouldn't it? Can I get in the water? Or does he drown in the water? Oh, he can swim too, huh? Yeah, so it's about, I mean, it's pretty much right on the 60 frames per second mark there. The GPU is pulling 314 watts. The GPU temperature is at 70 degrees Celsius. And the only thing this doesn't tell me is the CPU temperature. Now, can I carjack the horse? Can we do that? Yeah, I guess I can carjack the horse. Okay, there we go. Oh, geez, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry, buddy. I just meant to steal your horse. Oh, something happened here. What's happening? Oh, how did I end up back at camp? I don't know. I don't have the sound very loud, so I don't know what's going on. But we got a good feel for the performance here, so that's good. Okay. So let me go and just update this. And we'll say this is Red Dead Redemption 2. All right, so at least we got one game captured, right? And now that GPU is down to like 28 watts, right? It really drops when it's not getting hammered like that. So I think if I have, let me check my Xbox thing here. I'm still as an update for this one now too. So maybe the Forza update isn't as significant. Let's see. Here's another one this is a pretty game. This Forza Horizon. So maybe we'll try that. Let's view the progress. So I'm on Ethernet here, so this should come down quicker. This runs so slow. Isn't there like a trick to making this run faster? Because it's only downloading at like 11 megabytes per second. Mark Smith wants to know, what monitor is this? Well, if you click my Amazon link, you will see it on the product carousel right now. It is an LG 24UD58-B. That's what it's called. It's a 4K monitor. And I bought it because it was the lowest price one I could find at the time that I was looking. The stand's a little wobbly on it. But it's 60 hertz 4K. It doesn't do HDR or anything like that, but when I'm working on 4K stuff, it's actually a very nice display. It looks good. It's got the 60 hertz refresh rate. It's decent. Rich says, yeah, Grand Theft Equine is the title of that one. And Brandon says, yeah, so what is it? Forza Horizon 5 is the new one, right? I remember there being some kind of setting somewhere where you could speed up the Windows update thing. Let me check in my system settings here if there's a spot for that. I'm just checking through this. There was like an advanced feature. Advanced options. Yeah, I don't see it there. Delivery optimization, that's what it was. Maybe. Allow downloads from other PCs. Absolute bandwidth. Yeah, I don't have anything limiting right now. All right, let's see if this is, it looks like it's installed here, so let's try this real quick and see what happens. I just want to like look at some stuff that I know is pretty strenuous, you know, can really stress out the PC a little bit. Joe Tyson is here. Hello from Apex, North Carolina once again. Good to see you. And we'll pull up our performance overlay. And what we'll do here is we'll just crank the settings up at 4K also and see what we end up with. I'll give you a better look at this. Again, this is running at 4K, but you're watching at either 1080p or 720p, depending on where you are located. All right, so let's see. Apply suggested preset. Okay. Let me go into the options, though, and take a look at video. So right now it's only at 1080p, so let's go to 3840. Keep the resolution. And can I go? I can't go higher than 60 in the frame rate. I'm going to turn desync off though. And turn that on just for the heck of it. Why not? Motion blur. So is there like a setting to? Yeah, we have it on ultra. Perfect. Okay, so that's. Yeah, I think I want to have, yeah, preset ultra. That's what we want. So I'm going to set it to preset ultra. And so now we're at ultra, and our resolution is 4K. And I think they've got like a benchmark mode we can run here. Hey, Mark Dell is here. Hello, Mark Dell. And I hear that that radiator's going again. You must be running some kind of background benchmark to determine the best set. Actually, no, we set it to ultra, so I don't know what it's optimizing for. But we'll just run the benchmark here and see how it does. But that's what I like about this game. It's got a really nice benchmark. I remember running this on my gaming PC when I put it together earlier. All right, we'll just let this kind of roll here. And this is running automated. This is not me driving, so that's why it's going to be much better than it normally would be if I was playing. But it looks like it's holding pretty close to 60 FPS. Now, what's interesting is the GPU power, if you look on the right-hand side, is not, you know, it's not demanding as much of the GPU, even at ultra settings, as Red Dead was demanding, right? So Red Dead was pulling 300 watts. The GPU power right now is 200 watts on this. So we'll see if, as the benchmark continues here, if it gets a little more intensive or not. Okay, so here's the benchmark. So we kind of passed muster here, didn't we? But you know, in fairness, my 2080 Ti upstairs did as well. It was pretty in that. It was pretty much in that ballpark. So there you go. All right, so that's 2 pieces of B-roll captured. Okay, we're making progress. So let's go back out of here now. So how do we get out of this? Okay. Benchmark mode is complete. The game will restart. So this was ultra settings, by the way. Username says it's insane that VSync is still a toggle. I agree. Mark Dell's a Forza fan. And I should have said how great a driver I was, shouldn't I? Computer technician wants to know, anyone pre-order a Steam? Yeah, I ordered a Steam Deck. I'm excited for that. Absolutely. George said, delivery optimization, advanced options, put download limits to 100%. You have to enable the limiter that will speed up. Okay, I'll have to try that, because that might get us going a little better. Miliano wants to know, how much does this PC cost? Probably about in the $2,500 to $2,800 territory. It's inflated right now because the component costs are so expensive, right? All right, how do we get out of here? All right, so let's pop out of this. Unipixel says, if I try New World, my card will burn. Yeah, it probably will. So we'll avoid that one. Oliver says, and he's right about this, VSync increases input lag. It does. Yeah, I try to run as high a frame rate as possible. This monitor is only 60 hertz, but it's 4K 60 hertz, so that's good. All right, so let me go back into those settings on the update, Windows Update settings. And if we go to delivery optimization, advanced options, percentage of measured bandwidth. So if I say limit how much bandwidth is used for downloading updates in the foreground, I'll put it to 100%. And that might speed it up. So let's see if that makes a difference. So let's go back to Flight Simulator. I got to run in a minute anyhow, so we'll see if we can get this going here. I think though this is delivering its stuff in a different way. MSX Droid is here. Yeah, I didn't start at my usual 2 o'clock time today. I was debating what, so I had just finished up another review, and then I was debating about, I have like a bunch of like quick hit stuff to do on the extras channel and for Amazon, and I was debating whether or not to do this stream or to do a bunch of the quick hit stuff. And then as it turns out, we had a whole bunch of noise outside because the lawnmower guy is here. So I figured I would do the stream today. I was going to do the stream tomorrow. So we'll see. Maybe I'll do something tomorrow too. I don't know. All right, so let's get through Flight Simulator. I have a feeling it's still going to be wanting to update the next 30-something gigabytes of stuff. But what's interesting, even when it's just sitting on this screen, it's hitting the GPU a bit. I wonder if I could skip this for now. Can I just skip it? That's the one frustration I've had with this, because you'll have an update for the executable, and then within the game, there's a bunch of stuff that it just decides to download. I wonder if I can skip this. Mandatory update, never mind. Let's see how far we can get on this. Because you can see what happens here is that it does like a, here, I'll pull off the lower third here. So like it pulls down like these tiny files, and then, right, so you get into like the 80, 100 megabit per second territory. It's creeping up on speed here, right? But then it hits like it hits the end of it, and then it starts over again. So it just isn't very fast. And it's got 247 updates. And this is not an infrequent thing. Like, it is always downloading this stuff. So we might come back. I might come back tomorrow with this. Maybe we'll do that. And for those of you watching on YouTube, how has the stream been? Has it been good on YouTube? So I'm occasionally getting some warnings on my screen here. Unipixel says it's fun, right? You get download the installer, and the installer has to download stuff. Exactly. It's just it's frustrating. And Albert does. I do agree. The menu music is nice. Yeah, what's funny was I had set this up 2 or 3 days ago, and I purposely like let it just sit here and update Flight Simulator because I was going to do this stream, and then I didn't realize today was the day they dropped a huge update. But I think though, like they have major performance optimizations in this. So, look, everybody says the stream looks good. Terrific, excellent. Got a thumbs up from Joe Tyson. Carol says it's great. Excellent. Everybody says it's working great today. Perfect. Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do, I gotta run because everybody just got home. I've got to go. Let me see what I've got going on tomorrow. I got one of those days tomorrow where I've got like a bunch of interruptions happening. But I think what I might do is tomorrow I might come back with Flight Simulator. And it might be earlier in the day because I have a meeting at 1 and I've got a call at 9:30. Yeah, I think we'll figure this out. And I've got a bunch of like little quick hit stuff to do. So yeah, I'm going to let this run here because rather than watching you watch paint dry, we have 19 of 247 components that has to get updated here. So I think what I'm going to do is come back tomorrow when I've got some time. So set your notifications, and I will be back. And we'll play some Flight Simulator because I definitely want to capture some of this for the review that I'm working on. So let me just going to save my vMix presets here so I can jump back to this pretty quickly. Carol's wondering, do I have a new light in the studio? My hair is reflecting the light. It is, yeah, maybe it's just my hair today. I think my hair, I put a little too much stuff in my hair maybe. A little reflective today. But we will definitely get back and do more with this. David Bound is joining us. Hello. So yeah, I'll probably come back tomorrow with this because like I said, you'll all be sitting here for a while waiting for this to do its thing. See you later, William Wilkinson. Everybody says the stream quality today has been great. Excellent. Yeah, I'm always wondering, sometimes things happen and things stop working and whatever, so it's good to make sure it's still on par. All right, so I will be back, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. And it might be done by dinner, as Mark Smith says here, so it's possible. So yeah, let me go see what's going on upstairs, get everybody settled, and I will be back when it's done. Mark Dell says I should get faster internet. That's probably what I need to do. I agree. Yeah, this 2 gig thing has been fine, but you know, we've hit the limit. And I'm guessing like everybody and their mother is downloading this 247 piece update. You think about how many people they have to deliver 30 gigabytes to. And then how many, because I'm guessing like within the Flight Simulator system here, I'm guessing that this download is the same for the PC as it is for the console. So I bet you that there's like a million Xboxes all pushing the same 40 gig package down right now. And David, yes, looks like you did. Yeah, well, we're going to come back, though. We're going to have a whole Flight Simulator live stream, I think. Kadir says, good afternoon from the Netherlands. I was just hearing the price, and I was like, oh, cool. I look at the screen after I check the GPU prices. And yeah, it's probably cheaper, again, to buy, you know, the full completed system these days, right? And I bet you, yeah, I bet you're right there. They probably are throttling. And if they used AWS, would it be faster? That's a good question. Yeah, I'm guessing, Joe, that they're probably using, you know, their own cloud because the game runs in the Microsoft. What do they call their cloud? Why am I blanking on the cloud here? What's the name of that cloud? Azure. They're probably running on Azure, and I'm guessing their paying clients are probably a little more important than us live streamers trying to do a flight simulator thing. So, yeah. So if you do check out Flight Simulator, a good portion of your playtime will be this. So my advice on Flight Simulator is that if you plan to play it in the evening, download it in the afternoon, so it's ready for when you get going there. Mark Dell says, "Do we try any RTX games?" I haven't, but you know what might run okay with this? Could be the Quake 2, the Quake 2 one. We can check that out real quick. What's a good RTX game I should check out? Because I've got Game Pass, so I could grab anything that's on Game Pass. I love Game Pass. Yeah, let me do Quake 2 RTX real quick. I'll do that for just for you, Mark Dell. Just for you and your contributions to moderating. All right, so we're going to stop the update here. I'll come back to this and update that in a few minutes. And then we'll close out with a little Quake 2 RTX. I just got to find it real quick. Quake 2 RTX. We'll install that real quick. Oh, it's a gigabyte. But this should download faster because we are on my gigabit network. I only have a gigabit connection on this computer. But as you'll see here, this will pick up steam in a second. Pardon the pun, I think. Let's see what happens here. This should come out to be like about 100 megabytes per second once it gets cooking. But either way, it won't take all that long here. Even Steam is slow today. Everybody's slow. My goodness. Well, that's right. They have a RTX Minecraft now too, don't they? So Brian Trusty said, "What did I miss?" So we have been playing around with this Lenovo pre-built gaming desktop tower. It's got a 3080 on board and an Intel i9 10400K. And it performs pretty well. But all of our services are slower than molasses today. And we're going to load up Quake 2 RTX here. I have seen it. I played it on my 2080, one of my 2080 whatevers. We did try that out. So the download's pretty much done here. So we'll take a look at that real quick. We'll run it at 4K. Why not? Because we can, right? All right, so let's play that one. And I'll just do the shareware because I don't think I have the full copy handy. I know I bought this years ago, like back when it came out. Okay, so let's go to video. All right, so we are on the RTX renderer. I don't know what resolution we're at, though. We'll just jump into the game. And I'll give you the full screen here. And so this is running. So the RTX version tends to run slower than you would think, probably because they have so many of these effects enabled. So we're getting about 44 frames per second right now. I'm assuming it's running at 4K. I don't know. The lighting certainly looks cool, doesn't it? And you'll see some more examples of it when we get closer here. You can see like the doors reflecting it. There's a computer control panel over here, I think that, yeah, so you can see like some of the reflections on that. So what they did is they took the old game and added these lighting effects to it, these RTX effects. And if you played the original a lot, like you'll appreciate like how good this looks, right? But it definitely taxes hardware, even high-end hardware at full resolution here. Oh, they got me. Mark loves the lighting. It does look good, doesn't it? And I guess you can turn it off. So what I can do here, let's turn it off real quick. And we'll just go back to the regular renderer here. So just do like regular OpenGL. And you can see it's much darker. Like it just looks totally different. If I'm not mistaken, I think this Quake initially was only a software renderer, but they updated it later in its life. But you can see what a difference it makes with that lighting, right? So everything is just kind of really bland and dark and icky. And then if we go back here and enable the RTX, oh, I see. So we can actually hardwire it in it. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to I have it now set RTX at a true 4K. Let's see if how that works. Oh, they got me right out of the gate. So isn't it like it's a big difference, isn't it? So I could easily get this going at 1080, at 60 probably at 1080, but we're running at 4K right now. Look at the water. Isn't that a cool water effect? So crash here. How do I crash the control? Control crashes. So when you see the lighting based on what it used to look like, it's a pretty big upgrade. See some like colder lights here from the LEDs and that. It's pretty neat. And this, by the way, this is like taxing the GPU more than Forza was. Brandon remembers the first video card. Yeah, so I had a Voodoo 1 and a Voodoo 2. And it was amazing because remember, like, back when those cards first came out, the only things that were 3D accelerated were the game consoles. So it was a huge upgrade. It's pretty crazy. All right. Well, I got to run. So what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to have Flight Simulator update itself. And then I'll be back probably tomorrow because I don't have a lot of time to shoot stuff tomorrow. So I'll probably do a couple of my quick hit things, and maybe we'll cram in a flight simulator simulation for a little bit. I think that's what we're going to do. So there you go. And yeah, I'm regretting selling all because I would sell hardware and get new hardware. So I totally sold my Voodoo 2 and my Voodoo 1, and I would love to have that again. One of these days I'll reacquire everything. Do I have Minecraft RTX? That's a good question. Is that on Game Pass? It might be, right? Let's see, Minecraft RTX. Is that on Game Pass? Let me check my Game Pass thing. I'll humor you all for one more minute here. Because I think I own it. Actually, they don't have Minecraft on Game Pass, do they? They have Minecraft Dungeons. So, but I know that I bought Minecraft way back when it came out on Windows 10. I thought I had bought it. Does it say that I own it? I gotta log in. Hang on, let me log in real quick here and see if I'm signed in. I thought I owned it. I guess I don't. I'll have to pick that up. But yeah, we will take a look at that. Eric's Variety Channel used to play. Yeah, so I had a very similar setup. I had initially I had a Pentium 90. And then I built a Pentium 166. It was the first PC that I built. And I bought the parts at those computer fairs. And then I put so I had a 166 with the Voodoo 2, with the Voodoo card. Then I got the Voodoo 2. And then I bought a Pentium MMX because you could put the 233 MMX in the 166 processor slot. So it was like a box processor, and I just dropped it in and doubled the speed. It was great. But yeah, Jay, we will definitely do a flight simulator tutorial. Maybe I'll bring down my rudder pedals and my flight yoke, because you really should fly with that, because like the Xbox controller can do it, but you're not getting the same inputs that you would have. So we'll have to check that out. Yeah, I watch LGR also. That's what gets me into all this stuff. But I'm with you, David Ben. I'm not selling anything anymore. Much to my wife's chagrin, I don't sell anything anymore. I've been reacquiring the things that I did sell. So we'll take a look at that. Today is not Taco Tuesday. So the guy that used to deliver Taco Tuesday got a job. Although we could order from the taco place. We might do that. Although I got a lot of stuff I got to cook, so maybe I'll do the grill. I think I'm grilling tonight. I have burgers and chicken and all sorts of stuff. And George says that new Tesla has a flight yoke. It sure does, doesn't it? So yeah, I'm going to start the download process of Flight Simulator again. And what's so frustrating is that like Flight Simulator, you click it, you don't know if it's loading or not. So let's hit that again. That'll get it going here. And while we are taking this day or so break, if there are RTX-enabled games on Game Pass that I should check out, let me know, and I'll grab one. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, because Control is one, isn't it? And I think Control is on Game Pass now. Am I right? Maybe not. No, it doesn't look like it. They need like an RTX filter so you know it's supported. But there's a lot on Game Pass, even for the PC. And one of the games on Game Pass for the PC is, these are all the games that I have access to right now. Mass Effect is not the remastered one, though. That you still got to pay for with real money. And I think they've got the remastered Hot Pursuit, Need for Speed. That's a pretty fun game, right? And then, if you have Game Pass Ultimate, then you get access to a bunch of Electronic Arts titles also through this. So Star Wars Squadrons is on here. I already bought it, so I've been playing with that. That game's awesome in VR, by the way. Look at all this stuff. This keeps going. Doesn't stop. Yeah, SimCity 2000. Excuse me, the original. I booted up my game that I was running when I was in high school. It's still, the city's still there. Isn't this crazy? It just keeps going. That's Game Pass Ultimate. It is nuts. All right, so we'll let that continue downloading. It's a good thing I don't have a data cap. I downloaded like half a terabyte to this thing already. Doom Eternal, yeah, that's a good one. I just started playing that one. Dragon Quest XI. Doom Eternal got an RTX update. All right, so you know what? Let's dial it up. We're not going to be able to play that right away, but I will add it to my download list, and we'll explore that when we do the thing. So Doom Eternal, install with Game Pass. And then, so I don't think the Microsoft-owned games will ever come off of Game Pass, but the games that are from other companies, you can buy it at a discount before it goes off, if you weren't quite done with it yet. My daughters and I were playing River City Girls. That's the one we've been playing a lot of on the Xbox. And then a lot of these games will synchronize with the console version. So you can play it on the PC and then pick it up on your console if you want. George said I scrolled right by Control, so let's take a look if I can find Control on here. I must have missed it. I'll just type it in, because that's another RTX title. Here it is, Game Pass. All right, we'll throw that one on there too. Why not? All right, so we'll download those two, and we'll pick that up on our next stream. So we'll have Flight Simulator, Control, Doom Eternal. Brandon says, Crysis has an RTX mode. Does it run Crysis? Is Crysis on Game Pass? Let's find out. I think it might be. It is not, at least not on the PC. All right. Well, we will come back to that. All right. I'm going to run, but I will be back. So I'm going to let this thing download in the background, and then we will come back and play all this stuff again. Frank Cromer says, I've been reacquiring old stuff at twice the price. Actually, I reacquired a lot of this stuff behind me before it got expensive. So that Apple IIgs has got a lot of stuff that the stuff it has in it now is like super expensive, but I got it super cheap. The Discord, you can find it at Lon.TV/Discord. Mark Smith wants to know, is there a version of Heretic on the Xbox? I haven't seen it yet, but I think that might be an older title we might see come out. That was a fun game. And Mark Dell's got the Discord link in there too. All right. All right, everybody. I will be back again before you know it, and we will pick this up with a bunch of stuff that is downloading right now. And it'll be done by the time we come back again. Oh, yes, the framework. I got to try to get one of those in. By the way, my brother's friend from high school is the guy that does that. So I got to reach out to them again because I dropped the ball on that one. I will try to get one in. It looks pretty cool. Modularity used to be a thing, by the way. Like everything that framework does used to be how laptops work. Not anymore. So, cool stuff. All right, I'll try to get one in, and I will talk to you all very soon. So I will catch you on the next one.